Code: How Scholars Decoded the Hidden Language of the Rosetta Stone. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're about to uncover one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in the world of ancient history. A discovery that has yet to fully shake the foundations of what we know. But before we dive into that, let me take a moment to explain something truly groundbreaking. The middle text of the Rosetta Stone, which was once thought to be just a key to understanding ancient Egyptian, somewhat really ancient Greek, anachronistically speaking, has been deciphered as an ancient Slavyan Macedonian language, and it was two brilliant Macedonian academics, Aristotle Tentov and Tome Boshevski, who cracked the code using the scientific method. This revelation changes everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations and the connections between them. And that's just the beginning. Today, we'll also explore, from the very deciphered text, how a pharaoh's name is inscribed in the temple of the Egyptian god Ananetzar. This is a newly discovered name of an Egyptian god, read by the two Macedonian academics with their method. And that deity was celebrated not just by the Egyptians, but also by sacred animals, which we will see who those were soon enough. But here's the twist. The Macedonian Yunza, meaning young bulls, are linked to Egypt's powerful bull gods Apis and Mnevis. Needless to say, Yunza is a word still used in modern Macedonian language, which has the same meaning even today, which is young bulls. So stick around, because what we uncover here will change everything you thought you knew about ancient history, while you enjoy the wonderful play of Mountain Blade in the very, I would say, Macedonistic style. So, stick around, see you soon. So, there has been quite a bit of confusion surrounding how the middle text of the Rosetta Stone was deciphered by our two brilliant Macedonian academics, so let me take a moment to clear things up. The process used by these scholars was based on the scientific method, a rigorous approach to obtaining a decryption methodology that yields reliable, repeatable results. Essentially, once the method for reading the text was established, it was tested repeatedly. By analyzing the sounds of the characters and applying established linguistic rules, they found that the results consistently matched the correct context, proving the validity of their work. And that, in essence, is the hallmark of any scientific discovery. The results must be reproducible. So, here's a breakdown of how the scientific method was applied in this case. Initially, the academics observed. They noticed significant inconsistencies in the mainstream reading of the middle text of the Rosetta Stone. These discrepancies pointed to something deeper at play. Namely, they noticed how mainstream couldn't really establish, let's say, a school of thought, a general school of thought of what the grammatical rules of that middle text of the Rosetta Stones are. They go even further to say that that language was taught word by word, which is really nonsense. So, let's move along. The next step our two Macedonian academics took was to create a hypothesis. So building on the observation, they hypothesized that the middle text was not actually the Egyptian language as commonly assumed. Instead, it seemed to follow a syllabic script and contained elements of a different language altogether. Next is the methodology they created or discovered, for the lack of a better term. The scholars proceeded to systematically catalog the characters, then wired them for sound by setting specific linguistic rules and testing the decryption without altering the signs or rules. They ensured objectivity. The result was a text that contained numerous modern Macedonian and other Slavyan words, all set within the socio-religious context of the very time in which the Rosetta Stone was created. This is groundbreaking. This, among several different things that we will continue to uncover during this series, this is one of the things that is really hard to debunk. This is one of the things that kind of grabs this whole methodology, the results, and just glues them together to a valid product delivered to you, to the world, which is the true ancient Macedonian language, which was Slavyan in nature. Lastly, the last step would be to validate. To confirm the validity of their findings, they apply the same decryption method to other ancient texts, mostly notably the two Canopus stones created by the ancestors of Ptolemy V, the one that actually built the Rosetta Stone. The results were strikingly similar, further supporting their hypothesis. This led them to conclude that the language and script used were from the living masters of Egypt at that time, the Macedonians. Now, mind you, living masters is something that is actually read in the text, referring to the Macedonians, and we will soon enough see how the Macedonians actually call themselves. So stick around. You're going to love this. Even if you're a Greek, trust me, you would want to know the truth. Not only that, but the language itself was Slavyan, as I mentioned, and the transliteration always remained faithful to the socio-religious context of the period. Oof. So, by following this scientific approach, the academics successfully deciphered the middle text of the Rosetta Stone and provided solid, repeatable evidence that changed the way we understand ancient texts. Truly. This is the true process of scientific decipherment, and it proves that history, when examined through the right lens, can reveal astonishing new truths. So, when deciphering the text, our two Macedonian academics, Mr. Aristotle Tentov and Tome Boshevski, the first one is, or rather was, they're both passed away now, but the first one was involved in the deciphering of computer systems. The latter one was involved in nuclear science, so they're pretty serious bunch here. They applied consistent rules for both the meaning of the words and their pronunciation. These rules were discovered through a combination of observation, pattern recognition, and linguistic analysis. Now, beyond pronunciation, the academics also identified patterns of meaning embedded in the symbols or in the words. The decryption process involved translating signs not just as individual characters, but in their broader socio-religious and cultural context. You'll meet this a lot because it is important. For example, words like she, which means stone, and ve, which means creation or is made, were repeatedly found in contexts relating to temples, divine acts, and sacred objects, which reveal their underlying meaning. These repeated associations confirm that certain signs held constant meanings, irrespective of their position in the text. Talking about objectivity here. The most critical aspect of these rules was ensuring that both the meaning and pronunciation were consistent throughout the text. The academics ensured that once a rule for a particular symbol or word or sequence of symbols was established, it was applied uniformly across the entire text. This consistency is a hallmark of successful decryption, or decipherment, what have you, as it allows the rules to be repeatable and verifiable. So, the rules, as we mentioned, were: we read the word she, which means stone. We read the word ve, which means creation, made, and this is really trenched deep in history because it derives from the ancient deity Ve'el, or Baal, most commonly known, and that deity was actually referred as a creator god. Furthermore, we read the god named Jo, double O, Jo. This is not uncommon for ancient people, as you probably are aware. Well, in the Slavyan language, Abraham is actually transliterated Abraham, and so on and so forth. We know that ancient Egyptians, they did have also words that consisted of these double vowels together, so on and so forth. And this god Jo that is read in the text is actually god of the sacred animals. So, without further ado, let me present to you something that was read, and I'll explain it to you what it meant, and also you'll hear how it sounded, and also you'll hear how it sounds in modern Macedonian language as well. So, here we go. We read na nashive, which means to the creation made of stone. Na, even in modern Macedonian, is to, somebody, something. Nashive, the creation made of stone, because we know that she is stone and ve is creation. Or in other words, to the temple, or in the temple. We would literally read the same way in today's Macedonian, na nashive. In modern Macedonian, we would read vohramot. So, this phrase refers to a sacred structure, a temple built from stone, obviously, a symbol of divine creation. It highlights the connection between the physical and the divine, linking the temple to the forces of creation. So, next, what we read, and this is a sequence in one row, a sequence of, they're not just isolated words, mind you, they're a sequence of words that create a sentence, or a paragraph even, that is precisely within the socio-religious context of that era. Furthermore, we read, na djupatsave ananetsa bogo, and then we have a letter I, which means number 1, which would translates to English of the Egyptian prime god Ananetsa. So we have Naju Patsave Ananetsa Bogo. In modern Macedonian, that would read Najuptsive Ananetsa Bogot. Like 99% same. This part points to a central Egyptian deity, Ananetsa, which we read for the first time in history, because Macedonians, what in this text, what we've discovered is that Macedonians would often parallel deities, how they were called in Macedonian and how the Jupatsa or the Egyptians call them. So this deity is a really central deity in Egypt at that time, which is called Ananetsa. It's an important god of Egypt. It reflects the powerful divine presence acknowledged in the sacred text. Next we read Nazeve to Ljubove Tove Deca na Modea. In modern Macedonian this will read Nazovete go Ljubovta etoi na decata na Modea, or the Great Mother Goddess. Now you've noticed the similarities in the ancient text with the modern Macedonian text. This is nothing like Greek text reads, although some paragraphs are parallel to that text as well, which is logical. This will translate into English Nazeveto Ljubovetove Deca na Modea, ancient Macedonian, which translates to English to name him the love of the children of the Great Mother, or the children of that mother were the Macedonians. Because here we see the expression of deep reverence for the Pharaoh, revered as the love of the children of the Great Mother, suggesting a bond between the Macedonian people who were deeply connected to the idea of the Great Mother. We Macedonians, modern Macedonians, myself included, have this folklore of the Great Motherland. So, this is well within these socio-religious beliefs. Furthermore, we read I na bogo Jo, and of the god Jo, which will translate to English, and he is love of the god Jo. So this final line emphasizes the connection between the Pharaoh and the god Jo, the protector and patron of sacred animals. It signifies the Pharaoh's harmony with the divine guardianship of Egypt's sacred creatures. All this brings clarity to the intricacies of the decipher text, highlighting the deep cultural and religious symbolism embedded in these ancient words. Each phrase ties the Pharaoh's deeds to the divine, while subtly reinforcing the Macedonian influence on the Egyptian world that was politically shrewd by the Macedonians. They were particularly known not to be really honorable at that time, at least that generation of Macedonians. We know that from the Book of Maccabees and so on and so forth. But I'm digressing. Because in this part of the text, we encounter a fascinating decree issued to honor the Pharaoh in the temple of the Egyptian god Ananetsa. His name is inscribed as his Pharaoh's name is inscribed as one who is loved by both the children of the Great Mother, which were the Macedonians, and by the god Jo, the divine protector of sacred animals, which was the Macedonian god. This language suggests a deep connection between the Pharaoh and the Macedonian people, who view themselves as the children of the Great Mother, with strong ties to sacred animals and their divine guardians. But what's particularly intriguing is the mention in the 30th row of the Koine, or the anachronistically Greek text, where it states that the Pharaoh gave many gifts to the Egyptian bull gods, namely Apis and Mnevis, along with other sacred animals of Egypt. So here's where it gets even more fascinating, because the Macedonians, at different places in the text, refer to themselves as Yuntsa, meaning young bulls, a term still used in modern Macedonian with meaning young bulls. Still, this link is not just symbolic, it is deeply meaningful. The Pharaoh's acts of reverence and devotion towards the Egyptian bull gods corresponds directly with the Macedonian identity of Yuntsa, or the young bulls. So in essence, the Pharaoh's gestures of love of worship and gifts to the sacred bulls, Egyptian bulls, in this case, Apis and Mnevis, it mirrors the love he received from the Macedonian people, or the young bulls, or the junta as they refer to themselves, highlighting a profound bond between the two cultures. This connection illustrates how the pharaoh, while serving Egypt, was deeply aligned with the Macedonian identity and their reverence for these divine animals. Stick around, this is just the beginning.